Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Bagels Elox. You got your boy here, Harambe Covers, and my man, Dan, the Parlay Lawyer. Dan, are you ready for this?
I am. We're in a new setting, more relaxed atmosphere, ready to not relax, grind, and get in on this March Madness.
Yes, get cozy, ladies and gentlemen. Get cozy, get comfy. It's going to be a good one. March Madness is here. And honestly, I don't really watch too much college basketball in the fall. Start watching a little bit before the tournaments. Absolutely. Well, those tournaments.
Those tournaments, right. Then you start learning. Now you're like, wow, I know some of these teams. I have an idea of one player on each one. That's good, you know.
This is true. And I feel like you can learn a lot even by watching these conference tournaments.
Yeah.
I feel like also the commentators, they educate you a lot. So just if you put the time in, like I did, watching these conference tournaments, you really do see trends. I did learn a lot, and watching some even commentary that I've seen about the tournament coming up, a lot aligned with my thought process. So I was like, okay, I picked up on the proper things. Dan, you want to kick us off here?
Sure. You know, what I like to do at the start of the tournament, I take a look at this bracket. I see the machinations. I go through the, like the guy in Hangover ahead. But in order to do that, we got to go bracket by bracket. I say we just start out with the East. Is there any matchups on the East that, particularly stand out to you? What do you think about this region?
So the East region is very interesting. Obviously, it has the number one overall seed in the defending champion UConn Huskies. A little couple fun facts that I saw here was last year was the first year that not a 1, 2, or 3 seed made it to the Final Four for the first time since the expansion in 85. But what does tend to happen in most cases is the cream does rise to the top, as 24 of the last 38 have been a 1 seed in the national title. So the cream does tend to rise to the top. I believe the madness of March is usually in rounds 1 and 2 early, and then the big boys, if they still survive those early rounds, do tend to make it. So in the East, what does intrigue me, obviously you have UConn. UConn's in there. They're one of those teams that they can fire from all cylinders. They can throw that Tyson punch and knock you out. Will they defend themselves? To be determined. They are obviously the favorites here in Vegas. I believe a plus 450 to win the whole thing. So an intriguing matchup that I do like, though.
So hold on, can we stay with UConn for a second?
Absolutely.
All right, so we were talking about this a little bit on the other pod, and it just seems like every year there's a Florida team that comes out of nowhere and makes it. Last year, FAU, we had Florida Gulf Coast. I don't know, I'm starting to feel something weird about this UConn being so favored by everybody, right? And all year it was Purdue, then they had their problems this weekend. Now focus is shifting on UConn. Who does UConn have in that first matchup?
I knew you were going to go here.
Stetson. For our listeners who aren't from Florida, Stetson is located in Florida. It's in Central Florida. It's kind of near Gainesville, Orlando, I think.
Somewhere there.
They're out there. No one knows what they're doing. No one knows what they're working, what they're cooking up. I don't know. I'm calling it right now. There's going to be a Florida team that surprises people. I think we might be looking at our surprise of the year,
Wow.
Maybe 22-12, Stetson, so winning program. Are they going to win there in Brooklyn against UConn? Unlikely, but I'm just throwing it out there because I want to be able to say I told you so.
Love that take. Love it. What's funny to me is UConn, and we'll stay with UConn for a minute, is the number one overall. What sucks for them is in their region alone, you have 3 of last year's Final Four. You have FAU, San Diego State, and UConn. So they may have gotten that number one overall because Houston shit the bed, but it's almost like a punishment. It's a very, very tough region. Now, it sets up well for UConn. Look where they're playing. They're playing in Brooklyn, and then it pivots over, I believe, to Boston. Mm-hmm. So they have almost a home court. The drive is not far.
Right.
So you're not going to have a lot of Stetson students, I believe, going to Brooklyn to go support the UConn
Listen,
Huskies.
nobody knows what they're doing out there in Stetson.
I believe it's a rich school, too.
It's in DeLand. It's a private school.
They got money.
It's a private school. Who knows what's going on? But you're probably right. UConn's going to win. But you mentioned another matchup in the East that I think is very intriguing, and that's UAB San Diego State. Listen to the statistics. 78% of the brackets right now are picking San Diego State to win this matchup, right? It's a 5 versus a 12. But if you look at the fair book odds on the sports books, they're only giving San Diego State a 58% chance to win.
Interesting.
So Vegas is seeing something different than the public. The public bets are coming in on San Diego State. For some reason, people are liking UAB. If I'm looking for that upset, usually it's not. Well, actually, maybe once it's been 16 beating 1, right?
Yeah, they were the Golden Retrievers. I just know the mascots.
Okay, but if a 12 beats a 5, that's a big deal.
It's a very popular upset too.
Popular upset. So I'm actually picking UAB. On the sports books, if you're just betting that straight up, you're not getting amazing odds. But if you're filling out that bracket, you're making that pool bet with people. I like that as an upset in that region, UAB.
Love that take. UAB was also playing very well in their conference tournament. Now, also, you mentioned these demon Florida schools that come in early. If UConn survives the evil Stetson team, they more than likely, which is my interesting matchup, would be Florida Atlantic Northwestern.
Boca Raton, right down the street from here.
I think FAU gets it done. I think FAU will get it done, and then they will have their jab at UConn. So Florida definitely has to get through, UConn, will have to get through 2 Florida schools. An interesting matchup, though, also in this bracket, and I know we both are kind of on it, is this Drake one.
Yeah.
Drake, Iowa. It's a 7 versus 10. Drake opened up as the underdogs by, I believe, a point or 2. I would not be surprised, even though they are the 10 seed, that by the tip-off, you see Drake as the favorite. Do not be surprised. If you want Drake, take Drake now. Take it now, because I believe the more people start talking about this, more even our listeners, they're going to start listening to this. They're going to be like, wait, what? Because if you're just looking at the bracket and you're a rookie at it, you're just going to 10 versus, 10 versus 7, I'm taking Washington State. No, do not sleep on Drake. I think Drake can be very, very sneaky. And then Drake, by the way, folks, is in Iowa. They're very familiar with Iowa State, who will get business handled, who got shafted. I think they should have been a 1 seed. It will be a battle of Iowa, and Drake can also knock off Iowa State. So if you're betting Sweet 16 appearances, Drake is a nice, sleepy Sweet 16 appearance to bet on.
So interesting stat with that, the public is picking Drake in 53% of brackets. So it's a very popular upset pick. But the sports books have it almost at 50-50 right now. Like you said, with all of these bets going in on this being an upset, it might shift the other way. But that being said, because it's a literal coin toss, I could definitely see the argument going against the public, something I really love to do. I love to bet against the public unless it's an absolute obvious situation. The public seems to be wrong. This is why the sports books make money. So in a coin toss, I might be taking Washington State. I'm not sure. I don't know if I'm going to huge upsets in this bracket when I'm filling it out, but I definitely see the argument for it. Do you like anything else in here?
I do. I do. And one I want to mention, Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
So you saw I bet Illinois over the weekend during the conference play. They helped me hit my parlay. That said, I was very focused on Illinois after that, and I've watched them. They have not played a full 40 minutes. And what scares me about Illinois, they're playing Morehead State. Morehead State needs to control the pace. If they do clock management, get the rebound, walk the ball up the court, take control of the clock. I don't like Morehead State to win. Let's make that clear. But they're getting 13 points. I like them to cover. So it's still an upset in the sense of, if in betting land, right? You're not gonna just be Illinois the outright favorite. They're definitely gonna beat them, smack them by 20. I actually like Morehead State if they can control the pace of the game, because Illinois, in both games that I was really focusing and watching on, they did not play a complete 40 minutes. They ended up coming back. They were getting crushed in the first half, came back, and you can't do that in March. You cannot be playing that type of basketball. You need to play a full 40 minutes. I don't see Illinois doing that against Morehead State. I think Morehead State's going to come out energetic, and that's my one extra I just want to throw in there. If you want to sprinkle a little bit on it, I like Morehead State to cover. Not necessarily upset win, but to cover.
Well, everyone likes Morehead.
Can't deny that.
Yeah, let's move on to where are we going? The West?
Let's go south.
We'll go south.
Let's go south.
Let's go down south here. And obviously, like we talked about with the East, starting with the 1 seed, we have Houston versus Longwood here.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know where Longwood is. Don't know if I've heard of them. Don't know if they have a chance. A lot of people really like Houston. The public likes Houston, I think, as the 4th highest bet team to win the championship this year. I was betting Houston over the past couple days, and I don't know much about them, but they were disappointing me. So I don't know what you think about this region, who you think's coming out, what are the interesting matchups. Why don't you let me know?
All right, so I'll touch on Houston real quick. Houston has been a little flat. They got embarrassed in the tournament. They're going to be firing on all cylinders. Sorry, Longwood, it's going to be a long game. They are going to get blown out. I actually like Houston to cover here. I believe they're a 22-point favorite, and I think they just smack them around. I wouldn't be surprised if Houston is up by 25 by halftime, so maybe take the first half. Houston is going to be pissed, angry. They should have been the number 1 seed overall. They fucked it up. UConn stepped in, got it, but maybe it's a blessing. But the interesting one, the most interesting matchup that I like in this region is my little telenovela. Now, it is like a soap opera. The drama in this is phenomenal. You have Nebraska and Texas A&M, okay? Now, Nebraska, fun fact here, has never won a March Madness tournament game, ever.
Really?
They are the last team out of the big conferences, out of the 80 schools, that have never won.
I think that most people would think that they've won, right?
They're a football school.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to allude to football. Here, Trev Albert was a 90s All-American football player at Nebraska. He was their AD. Magically, last week, out of nowhere, he resigns. And guess where he goes? Texas A&M. He is the athletic director now against the team that they're playing. Nebraska's going to have a chip on their shoulder. They're going to get their first March Madness win. Book it. I'm telling you, Nebraska, Texas A&M. That's just my intriguing matchup just because of the story behind it. I just think it's very interesting.
Well, 56% of the public is on Texas A&M, so maybe they know this statistic that you're talking about, that they've never won. But Nebraska's slightly favored in this matchup by the books. So Vegas seems to be disagreeing with the public. Something's got to give. Right? Like eventually they're going to get a win. This seems like a good spot for them. I like that pick. I think I would go with the same thing. I think I'll be betting Nebraska to win that game.
And right under there, if you're looking at your brackets while you're watching or listening to this, folks, there are 2 upsets that I foresee. And I love upsets. And I know I'm going crazy on upsets here in the beginning here. But JMU playing Wisconsin. Wisconsin had a great conference tournament. They played well. Congrats. Go Badgers. I feel good for you. James Madison will win that game. And right under there, Duke. No one's really even seen much of Duke.
Well, guess what? Vermont's going to win that game.
Vermont, that's what I like.
I like Vermont to win that game. Mike Krzyzewski's not walking through that door.
He's not.
Duke lost to UNC. They're not the same team. They're not that great. Vermont's had a good season, right? Vermont is 28-6. That's a lot of wins, right?
Vermont actually will frustrate Duke. Vermont is 4-3 against the spread, but on all 4 games where they covered the spread, they won outright. Vermont shooters will shoot. If I didn't have all these wires and headset, I'd come over there and hug you for that take. I love Vermont, and I love James Madison, and because of that, you will get a James Madison-Vermont matchup in the next game. So I bet them both. I did to go to the Sweet 16
Wow.
because you're getting great odds on it. And if both of those come to fruition, then one of those are going to hit and I'm going to have a nice payday.
If it's James Madison versus Vermont in that next round, marquee and actually, where is James Madison? Does anyone know here?
I think it's like in the Carolinas, but I could be mistaken.
Okay, we need our statistician.
Yeah.
But what I do know is Vermont is not that far away. They will get some travelers from that Vermont school. Bernie Sanders will be there. He's from Brooklyn. I think he's from Brooklyn, was the senator from Vermont. So we're going to get a lot of interesting takes there. He likes basketball. I like Vermont. Let's go.
And another, Kentucky's in this region. Kentucky's a sleeping giant. They're just a great program all around. If they can just get their shit together, they do.
Yeah.
Another favorite I really am not too fond of is Florida. I think whoever comes out of this Boise State, Colorado will actually knock off Florida. So if you really want to get like real funky with it and you think Houston just, spanks Longwood, they take care of business against Nebraska or A&M, JMU to the Elite Eight, or maybe being like the FAU of last year and going to the Final Four,
Wow,
is not impossible here.
No, and they're 31-3. They're a winning team. They've surprised against a lot of good squads this year. I like that. I mean, look, we know this is what makes us so fun. There are all these teams. You don't know which team is going to be that FAU this year, but there will be one. Maybe it's Stetson. I know we have a lot of UConn fan friends that will be very upset and maybe not watch the rest of. I don't even want to know how they will react if Stetson wins, but whether it's Stetson, whether it's JMU, whether it's Vermont, we're going to get surprised. We always are. This is what makes it so much fun. There'll be this Cinderella story. Yeah, and that's why I love it.
And what was nice is in the conference tournaments this year, it didn't go like as chalk as people expected. So there's a lot more parity in college basketball. There will be surprises. I don't like Florida here. I don't like Duke. I don't like Wisconsin. It's setting up beautifully for Houston or Kentucky if they can just get their act together. Marquette is a phenomenal program in this region, but they are a little banged up and a little hurt. So, which Marquette are we going to get? If this Vermont and James Madison happen, they're going to be knocking off two giants in the region. It's up to Houston and Kentucky to just get their act together and get it done. But we could see some fireworks out of the South. Do you want to pivot to the Midwest?
Yeah, let's move on to the Midwest here. And looking at the Midwest, so obviously we have Purdue there. Eddie, he's big. He's plotting, but he seems to be getting officiated different. He seems to get a lot of calls, but he also in the conference championship tournament, obviously, wasn't this complete dominant force. And I think that my hot take is I think that it was Purdue administration that ruined him. They retired his jersey.
They did.
They retired his jersey senior night. How can you retire a jersey of a player that is going to still be playing in that jersey? I think it's something weird in the sports tradition, messing with it, and retiring a player's jersey while they're playing. It's almost like you retired the player. I think Purdue obviously is going to beat Montana State or Grambling. They get the benefit of not even knowing yet. This team they have to figure out who they're going to play. They're going to win that game, but I think they're going to run into trouble down the line. Mm-hmm. I think that they're a Sweet 16 team at best.
Hot take.
At best. And I think that if you want to go against a team that's overly favored, that's slowing, right now you want to be the team that has the momentum. All the momentum was taken from them. They barely made it to the semifinal, and then they lost that game as well, right? So all the momentum sucked away from them. I don't like Purdue in this bracket. I do like them to win a couple of games, but I don't like them to take it all the way.
And I actually like Purdue. And here, Purdue last year, they went in and they went golfing the next day. They were one and done. Reminds me of a team that was very highly ranked a few years ago that went in, went out, and then the next year, what did they do? And that team was Virginia, and they won the whole damn thing. I see Purdue upset. I see Purdue with a chip on their shoulder. I see Purdue have a very, very good top half draw. Not sold on Gonzaga. I'll pivot. I'll talk about that game momentarily. I like McNeese actually for the upset. But this is the thing. Eddie is a beast. He's an animal. But it's not up to him, okay? If they can throw it to him down low, it's up to Gillis, Smith, and Lawyer. These dudes need to hit their threes. If they hit their threes, they are the most dangerous team in this tournament. They are a force to be reckoned with.
But they don't let them shoot enough. I mean, maybe they'll change because they lost, but I was, again, my Purdue watching experiences over the last week, but I'm watching this game and they just dump it into this guy, right? And they're just living and dying by Eddie. So, do you think so basically what you're predicting is that they're going to switch up their game plan. They're going to go and become more of an inside-outside team.
They need to if they want to be successful in this tournament.
So do they do it? That's the question.
And do these guys hit the threes? That's the question. If these guys wake up and they start hitting their threes, then they have a nice draw. In their draw, I'll go into some upsets here, and then I'll hear yours. You have Gonzaga, McNeese. McNeese is another Sweet 16 team that I bet on to go. I like what McNeese is doing. I don't like what Gonzaga is doing. I think McNeese upsets. And just like we had in the South region, Samford playing Kansas. Kansas is not the same Kansas that we've been dealing with. Kansas, I think will lose to Samford. And you're going to have a Samford-McNeese matchup, which gives you that free money going into the Sweet 16. So it kind of sets up like that Vermont-James Madison situation that we have going on in the South. I like those. Because with Kansas, the health of McCullough and Dickinson is to be determined. These guys are hurt. They're banged up. And they just played a conference tournament. Now they're going and turning it around within a week and have March Madness. And these small programs come guns blazing. What are your upsets that you like in this bracket, Dan?
I don't know why. I'm just looking at St. Peter's, feeling a little religious, and I can see a little upset happening way down on this bracket. They haven't been that impressive this year for a 2 seed. They're a good team. Don't get me wrong. And obviously, coming out of this bracket, people are expecting it to be Tennessee versus Purdue.
Mm-hmm.
But I know an upset's going to happen here. I think McNeese, I see where you're going. I think that's the easy call. They've only lost 3 games this year. They've won 30, right? I think they're one of the only teams that have won 30. I think it's UConn, Houston, and McNeese, right? Those are the only teams that have 30 wins.
It could be.
I think that's the case. So that's an obvious choice there. But little St. Peter's, 19-13.
The Peacocks fly in March.
Yeah. And I can see it happening. Something's just catching my eye. I really don't have a lot of statistics to back it. But
I mean, I'm with you. I think Tennessee will win, honestly, but I'm not high on Tennessee. I don't think they go very far. I like Creighton. Creighton's another sleepy beast in that region. But in all honesty, it's setting up nice for Purdue. I'm not really sold on too many of these programs in here. Oregon is a nice, interesting one as well versus South Carolina. But I think Purdue can get the job done. I think they will get the job done. They're not going to, but yes, watch out for the Peacocks in St. Peter's. Peacocks fly in March.
There we go.
We know this. Let's go to the West.
Go to the West. Let's round it out. We've made it all the way around the country in a very bizarre, strange way of going that way. But we're here in the West, and there's North Carolina sitting there at 27-7, going against either Howard or Wagner. I don't think there's a lot to think about there. They're going to make it to the next round, right?
North Carolina, yeah. They'll make it to the next round. I think they shouldn't even be a 1 seed. I think Iowa State got shafted, but it's okay. We're here now. This is where we're at. North Carolina wins. Keep going.
Yeah. So my West region upset, 71% of the public is picking St. Mary's to win their matchup against Grand Canyon. But the book odds are suggesting that they only have a 63% chance to win. I think that this is obvious locked in here upset potential. It's worth, if you're picking a bracket or you're trying to like cover a big spread, I think that this is a good target where you're seeing a huge public bet that Vegas is not agreeing with, because we're always looking for those positive trends there where the sharps that are making the odds in Vegas, that watch every game, that know all the statistics, run it through their algorithms, they're finding out and making the odds at a certain amount, but the public is really disagreeing with it. I love going against the public, so I really like Grand Canyon, number 12, to upset St. Mary's, number 5.
I hear you. I actually like Grand Canyon in that matchup. They're contrasting styles.
Mm-hmm.
Grand Canyon will push the pace. St. Mary's likes to slow it down. So it's going to be a Grand Canyon. Yeah. So it's just about who's going to win the battle of pace pushing. Can St. Mary's slow it down? If so, Grand Canyon takes the L. But I think Grand Canyon will push the pace and get that done. An interesting matchup I also like in here is Michigan State.
Me too. That's where I was going.
Beautiful. Yeah, Michigan State. I think Izzo will get his guys aligned. He's a top 5 coach, though.
I totally disagree.
Oh, I love that.
I disagree. First of all, Michigan State, another one of our good friends, love to see the chaos if they lose. But interestingly enough, about 60% of the betting is on Michigan State.
Mm-hmm.
And even more so than that trend I was talking about with Grand Canyon, where the book is basically saying it's a coin flip. I think that the betting on Michigan State is purely because of the name here, the history, the name of being good in the tournament, the coach. But guess what? It's a coin flip, and therefore, because of the public betting, because it's showing up as a coin flip, it's telling me that Vegas really believes Mississippi State, and that's who it is going to win. And that's where I'm going. So I'm, especially with college basketball, where I'm following less along from other sports about the players and getting a real feel for it, I'm looking at those. I'm trying to see where I can get an edge. And where I can get an edge is finding those like positive EV discrepancies between public betting and what the books are saying. This is one of the big ones that stands out. So I'm going with Mississippi State.
And I see where your head's at, and I don't disagree with you. It is a coin flip. I actually like the Michigan State side. I just think, we will see. I just think Izzo will get his guys prepared. One of my favorite matchups in this region is a very trendy one. It's actually a very trendy pick for this team to go far in the tournament, even as a winner overall. And that is New Mexico.
Ooh.
New Mexico Clemson. New Mexico is one of the trendiest sleeper picks right now going on in Vegas. They have, I believe, like the top percentile in actual odds to win the whole thing, and they're an 11th seed. So they shouldn't even be that high. New Mexico to be that high. So it's very interesting. Vegas is high on them
as a favorite, and the public bets are all on Clemson.
The Lobos are ranked in the 100s.
I agree.
In points per possession. Clemson is in the 200s. Big discrepancy. I think New Mexico gets it done. I think New Mexico makes a run.
Yep, and the same thing is happening with this Dayton-Nevada game, where Dayton's a slight favorite by the public. Nevada is a slight favorite by the sportsbook. I'm going to go with the sportsbook's take over the public every single time. So I like Nevada to upset, quote unquote, Dayton. A lot of times the seating here doesn't really make a lot of sense.
Mm-mm.
The math doesn't math, et cetera, et cetera. I tend to go with the book over the public.
And this region in itself is probably, in my opinion, the most uncertain region. There's just so many weird matchups in here that I like Michigan State can turn it on. North Carolina, Arizona, I'll get to them in a minute. But one game that I'm really, everybody, please watch this game. If you want bombs away, lights out, shooting, just electric, I bet you would never even guess it, but it will be the 4 versus the 13, Alabama and Charleston. These teams don't walk, they run up and down the court. If you look at the over-under, the over is the favorite, and the total, can you just guess what a total would be? You've seen the totals of over-under in college basketball.
135.
173.5, and that is the favorite.
Wow.
So I took the over. Get ready, bombs away. They will be pushing up and down the court all game long, all 40 minutes. Alabama, Charleston. Don't be surprised if Charleston upsets.
I like that. Charleston, I assume, is in Charleston.
Yes, that is exactly.
Yeah, and where they're playing long ways away. Alabama, historically, obviously, has been there, has been a decent team, has had players. Charleston, I don't really know a lot about, so I'm gonna follow your take there. And
Now,
maybe what is the spread looking like in that game?
I don't know the number offhand, but I'll give you this fun fact.
Okay.
If you don't want to take Charleston money line, take them the points. Alabama has one cover in the last 6 games.
Wow. Now, what about under 170 something? I mean,
I took the over
you took the over.
because everyone's just like, they're going to be pushing. And if Charleston can keep it close, it's going to be a lot of fouls. It's just going to be one of those like games.
Yeah. But we do see in these tournament games, slower pace, little nerves. People are missing more foul shots. What game were we watching? It was like, was it Brown VCU? I don't even know.
No, it was Brown Yale.
Brown Yale. I can't believe these are Division I basketball players, the amount of foul shots that are missed. And I think it's not that they can't make foul shots. They're shooting under their percentages in the tournament. They're nervous. It's loud. There's a lot on the line. It's usually the biggest game. Every game is usually the biggest game that those players have ever been in.
No, it was the Gator game.
It was the Gator game.
That they
right?
kept missing. The Gators kept missing. They kept it close.
Yeah.
And then at the end, they just were missing.
Yeah.
An interesting one, though, that I do like, because if you look, folks, I don't hate them to win the whole thing. I know I'm fast forwarding a little bit here, but just throwing it out there. Where's the Final Four? It's in Phoenix. That's where the national title is. Arizona is just sitting there waiting. Do not sleep on Arizona. I like Arizona, especially to come out of this bracket.
Yeah, so they
and then they would go. They're going home.
Yeah, and they have a good path. Probably their toughest matchup will be Baylor when they see Baylor for that first time.
If they see Baylor, they have to get through New Mexico.
Right. But you like them to go pretty far. So
I like New Mexico to go.
Oh, you're saying Baylor, New Mexico could be Baylor. They don't even.
Then they would play Arizona.
They have to play them, yeah. So, yeah, no, that's an interesting take. We do see in the Final Four, usually 2 out of the 4 are going to be teams that we expected to be there. Maybe we'll get an FAU type surprise. Doesn't seem like it's FAU's year this year, but you never know. Obviously, they turned it on during the tournament. They obviously have a good coach. There are, bizarrely, it's FAU is one of the most experienced teams in March Madness because of last year, and they returned most of their team. So they might be able to turn it on. We could see something there.
So let's do 2. Who are your 2 number 1 teams that, if just out of the 4 number 1s, pick 2 that you think most likely will go to the Final Four?
Yeah, I think most likely we're going to have Houston and UConn. That's what I would say. I want Stetson to win. That's my team this year. It's not looking good, but if I had to choose, I would say it's Houston and UConn, and then we're going to get some surprises out there in the West and the Midwest. Yeah, how about you?
I don't hate your Houston take, but Houston, you have a problem. The way that they finished that last game, I know they're going to be mad against Longwood and this, that, the other. That region is just tough. Kentucky's tough. I'm not sold on Florida, but Marquette is in there. Like I said, I like UConn. I'm going to go chalk here. UConn and Purdue.
Okay.
I like UConn and Purdue. I think out of the West, I see Arizona coming out. I don't know who I'm going to see coming out of the South. I would love to see James Madison be that FAU.
Okay, so let's finish this off today with, give me 2 teams that you think have a shot to be the Cinderella story this year, and I'll guess mine too. Because it's really a guess, let's be honest.
Absolutely. So I'm going to go James Madison.
Okay.
And this isn't really because the public is so high on them, but because of their seeding, it is, I guess you could say, Cinderella. I'm going to go New Mexico at 11.
I don't know, but I guess because of the seeding, if an 11 seed is there in the Final Four.
Do I have to go lower? I mean, if I have to go lower.
I mean, I want like deep, dark take.
Dark thoughts?
Dark thoughts, yeah.
Right.
Let's get crazy here. You gotta get someone Like, nobody expected FAU. No one expected Florida Gulf Coast.
All right.
Team like that.
All right, so I'm going to go James Madison still.
That I agree. That would go in there. I agree.
McNeese.
Ah, okay. Aaron
It's
at that
okay.
McNeese.
It's okay.
No. I don't want to pick the same.
Okay, fine.
And at the end, a week from now, we're going to talk about it and see
And how wrong we were on
how
everything.
wrong we were.
Yeah.
I'm going to get real crazy here. And I'm going to, because you focus there on the South and the Midwest, right? So I'll pick a team from the East and the West. I'm going to get nuts here, and I'm going to go for Moorhead.
Okay. We all like
State.
that.
We all like Moorhead State. And in the West, I am going to, you know what? I like what you were talking about with, I don't know anything about this team, but I like that Charleston apparently is involved in a game that has a 170-point over. I think that if you can score that many points,
You can win.
you can win any game. So you know what? Charleston, let's go.
And-
South Carolina
And you know where they are.
in Charlotte. No, they're in Spokane, Washington, actually.
Long travel. But you
Yeah,
know where they
not in
are.
Charlotte.
You know where they are.
No, Charleston, South Carolina. I was looking at the bracket. Charlotte is that's interesting. So the two places they're playing in their side of the region is Charlotte and Spokane, and they're sending Charleston all the way to Spokane when Charlotte, right there in North Carolina, there's a game going on that they're not invited to, but they will be invited to the big dance.
I love
Charleston.
it. Hey. And it's not that bad of a take. I mean, you're going the point of the game is to score points.
Yep.
And if you can score points and the other team is just not able to score, guess what?
I've never
You're
heard
winning.
it. I've never heard of an over that much, and I can't believe you took the over
I
of that
had to.
number. I'm going to be taking the under because of what I said.
Yeah.
But I like that everyone sees them scoring a lot. I think we covered a good portion of March Madness. We'll be talking about more March Madness. We'll be going to watch games on Friday at the Hard Rock. If you're there,
Come
and
say
you're
hi.
listening, come say hi.
One more thing. I just
Oh,
gotta get one more thing out of you.
Okay.
Just give me a winner, just off the cuff. Like who's winning? I threw Arizona out there as a fun. We'll reassess. Who's your winner?
I mean, my winner is you. I think UConn's going to win.
Okay. Hey, fair. Now maybe your friends will talk to you now. Awesome. Well, everyone, thank you. Come see us at the Hard Rock. Fill out your brackets. Good luck. Win some bets and follow us. Subscribe.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Peace.
Bye.